What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tyler Egan, and this is going to be episode number 2 of Meal Prep and Chill, where I just meal prep and share what's happening in life. And we go from there. I wasn't sure if I was going to make this like a series or not, but I'm like, you know what, man, this is the easiest way I can make content right now is while I'm doing other things. So here we are. Here we is. So today, when I had the idea to make this video, I was like, I actually had something I wanted to share. I figured I'm going to share my money story, how I went broke, and like the lessons I'm learning from it. I thought that would be cool. Yeah, hold on, before I get into that next point. So my money story, like how I went broke over the last years doing personal training, I figured then I would talk about intuitive eating because that's what I'm doing in the last video. And admittedly, this video is going to be, I'm making it a few weeks after I posted the first one. And then I'm going to be posting this a few weeks after today. So it's probably going to be like a month apart, at least. But when I made the first video, I was talking about how I was doing intermittent fasting, and I am, but it's more intuitively. I'm not doing it every single day restrictively. And so I figured I'd talk about my money story because my money story is directly tied to why I'm eating the way I'm eating right now, more intermittent fasting. But ultimately, I just eat intuitively. I listen to my body. I listen to my hunger cues and whatnot. And then the last one is just talking about like how to find your ideal diet, because my ideal or optimal, better might be a better way of putting it. My optimal diet changes depending on depending on the season of life I'm in, because financially I'm not in the best circumstances right now. This current season of life I'm in calls for a different way of living, and I'm honoring that in different ways than I normally would. So yeah, let's get into it. I mean, the other point I kind of skipped past earlier that came to my mind that I'll share now is, a lot of the reason I want to share these things is because I haven't come up with the best way I want to phrase how I'm working with people these days. But every time I get into a conversation with people, the best way I've been able to get people to understand what I'm doing is like effectively I am life coaching. I don't like that terminology because there are so many things about my life that I like money and relationships. Like I'm learning how to navigate those better and better each day. And it's like, if I'm life coaching, then I'm helping people navigate through life. And I feel like I should have a better understanding on how to navigate all areas of life. So I'm not calling myself a life coach, but effectively that's what I'm more or less doing. So, I don't know, I guess maybe that makes sense why I want to share these things. Anyway, sometimes saying it out loud helps me sift through my own thoughts. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into it. My money story and how I went broke. So it all started, as I shared in a lot of the last videos, I was doing personal training. And that started in about 2019. I was like, okay, cool. At the time, I was working a job I did not like, doing something that, for all intents and purposes, made me feel dead on the inside. But I later came to learn that it wasn't just the job. It was my own, a lot of other mental things going on, a lot of like emotional blockages and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, though, I started personal training in around 2019. And in 2020, COVID and everything like that became a catalyst in a lot of ways for me to be like, you know what? Okay, I have a lot more time on my hands. I'm going to devote that time to working on personal training. I started posting a lot more content, working with more people. I mean, in the beginning, I had, I started with a few friends, and I charged them like dirt cheap. Like, I mean, like a workout program is like $25. And if you have ever paid for a personal trainer or a coach in any way, shape, or form, $25 for like an 8-week program is nothing. And mine were always personalized. They came with videos and tutorials. I mean, one of my clients in the beginning, a few of them were my friends, but one of my clients in the beginning, during COVID, we would do Zoom calls, and I would coach him through the workouts in real time like that. I had no experience prior to this. So anyway, I became so dead set on the fact that personal training was going to be my way out from under the grips of the man. In this case, I worked for a small business, and I didn't want to do what I did anymore. It's what my father did. It's what my father, this is where he started in his career. He's a salesman now, but he was a press operator doing the same thing I was doing. My brother is the production manager there now. My uncle worked in the industry. My cousin worked in the industry. And I was like, I just don't want to live the same life as the rest of my family. And like from an egoic lens, I was hell bent on living my own life. So I 2020 worked with as many people as I could. I worked with some people for free. I tried all different kinds of things, posting videos, different content. Like if you go through my YouTube page, let me just make sure this is actually working, because sometimes I don't hit record. Okay, it is working. If you scroll through my YouTube page, you'll find videos from like 2019. Like there's one video I specifically remember. I remember making a video on foam rolling your lats, and oh my god, it's cringe to watch that now because of the way that I articulate my points. But I was doing all kinds of different stuff, just experimenting. And at the end of 2020, I was like I said, 2020 was kind of like a catalyst for me. COVID was. At the end of 2020, I left a full-time job, and I got a different full-time job working in a warehouse, really like grunt level work where I was just labor. And come on now, you got this. Ignite. 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 Okay, we're not going to work today. We'll go this one. All right, cool. Just doing a lot of grunt work. I was making whatever, average money at best. And when I left the other job I had, I don't know if I talked about this, but the job I had, my career job I had been working for 8 years, like it was on paper a really decent job. Like from a stereotypical point of view, like you graduate high school, you graduate college, whatever it is, you get the job, you have the kids, or you find the partner, you have the kids, those things. From that perspective, on paper, it was a decent job. At my last year working there with overtime, I would have made like 60 grand. It had the 401k, really good benefits, really good. It had really good health benefits. You got dental, all kinds of things. The employer was good. We occasionally get bonuses and shit. I mean, it's like, I'm working there again right now, and it's like on paper, it's not bad. It's not bad at all from that point of view. But like to me, I'm like, fuck that. No, I don't care what the benefits are. This makes me feel dead on the inside, and I'm not doing this forever. And oh shit. So when I at the end of 2020, I decided to leave the job. I found I didn't need as much money anymore. I think I paid off my car or something like that at the time, because I went through the motions, man. Like I got trapped in the matrix. I was like, okay, I need, at the time, oh my god, I didn't even expect this to go here, but this is cool because this is really fucking interesting. So I was stuck in the matrix, so to speak. And if you don't understand what I mean by that, maybe I can explain that later, but I was like stuck in the matrix, the rat race of our society, like again, find the partner, settle down, have the kids, get the job, like all those things. Right before COVID hit, I had, for the previous 6 months, been living with my ex-girlfriend. We had just moved in together, and like looking back on it all, she's a wonderful person. So when I speak about her, I don't mean this any negative connotations towards her, but like I rushed into living with her based off of the societal model of find a job, find the partner, settle down, all those things, when that was never the life I wanted to live. So fast forward, Valentine's Day 2020, right before COVID hit, we break up, and it just starts sending everything I think is true in the world into a spiral. I was already finding ways to get out of my job, and at the end of 2020, when my lease was up, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking do this. I moved in with my friend at the time. He lived about an hour and a half in Pennsylvania. I'm in New Jersey, and I started a new job there. I didn't need as much money anymore because my car was paid off. So I got the apartment. I had the car. And my mindset around my relationship at the time was like, I'm going to make this work no matter what. And looking back on it, like, again, my ex-girlfriend was a wonderful human being. She taught me so much. I have so much like love for her. We were not in alignment. And so, like, it all worked out for the best, at least for me. I hope she's doing well. I haven't talked to her in a hot ass minute. But so I moved in with my friend, and that was interesting too. It was my first time living that far away from my family and stuff like that. The whole experience was deeply fascinating. I mean, like, in a way, like, I learned so much about myself. So when I left the job at the end of 2020, I took my 401k money. And this is where I know, like, people are gonna, it doesn't matter. I'm not gonna say it. Where I was not, it doesn't, oh man, wow, this is interesting listening to myself say this. I didn't handle the money well. Like, I had a decent amount put aside for my 401k. Now, let me tell you something. If you take your 401k money, the government's going to tax the shit out of you. It's crazy. But that doesn't really matter either. I spent a lot of it on gym equipment. It helped me get through. When I moved to Pennsylvania, I'd lasted at the job for about a month, and this may be where I lose people too. I was, and still, I guess, am, I don't know, adamantly against half the things the government was doing during COVID, like masks, and the company I worked for was, at the time, the new company, was strictly enforcing it, so I quit, and the 401k money held me over for a few months. Eventually, it wasn't going to last, so I moved back in with my parents. I was like, okay, I'm going all in on personal training. My parents aren't going to charge me that much rent. They charge me a fraction of what my friend was, and I can do this. I got another, like, part-time gig to hold me over, working at a gym that wasn't crazy about the COVID restrictions, and I wasn't making enough money to sustain my lifestyle. So I was using credit cards. I was using credit cards to get by and everything. And that was for like 2.5, 3 years. Yeah. Eventually, personal training did grow to a point where I could sustain myself, like my lifestyle, but I was so naive on how business works, and I don't, because like when I share this with people, they're like, oh, it's almost like people think I'm being hard on myself, and I guess in a way I can see where people would think that, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I was very naive on how business actually works. Like, I didn't set money aside for taxes. I didn't have any structure or organization. Like, so there was no flow. Like, when somebody would sign up to work with me, it was a fucking mess. And the last 6 months I was in personal training, I finally got some systems in place, which really helped. But I just started to realize that personal training wasn't my thing anyway. So it's a part of my thing, but it's not the full thing. So anyway, back to my story. Yeah, so 2021, I moved back in with my parents. I was kind of using credit cards along with my income and stuff like that to hold me over. And then 2022 is when I started to have a lot more success with personal training. And when I say this time I was using credit cards to hold me over, it wasn't too bad. It didn't get bad until last year, so 2023. I started to have the notion that personal training wasn't going to be my long-term play. And I decided not to go back to getting a job just yet. And that was, so it was probably early spring that I realized personal training was not in the cards for me in 2023. But I didn't go back to working another full-time job until August. And I'll be really raw and honest with y'all. Like, it was more out of an egoic pattern of, it was like self-preservation. So like my ego was so formed around this pridefulness of not asking for help. And I don't know if this is what people mean when they talk about spiritual bypassing, but I feel like this might be the right context to use it. I was almost like spiritually bypassing myself because I was believing in these, like, manifesting your reality and all this shit. And this is why I think, like, anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole to shit. I was essentially like spiritually bypassing myself into not into okay, here we go. Into believing that God was going to come through for me and perform a miracle to save my financial ass when things were already being provided for me. Meaning, like, I had an ability to make money. I could have continued to do personal training. I could have went back to my old job. But in my mind, I had convinced myself that, like, a miracle would happen. And I'm not saying miracles can't happen, but, like, the miracles, in a sense, were kind of already there. And, shit, maybe what I'm saying is spiritual bypassing. I don't actually know what that word means, but this is what happened. Or that term means. So... it was like a spiritual ego. Maybe it's a better way to put it. I had like a spiritual ego around everything. So I eventually came to my senses, all this debt later. I mean, man, I don't know. Do I give the numbers or do I not? You know, I had student loans to still pay back from my time in college that I never completed. Because of COVID, one of them was put on hold a little bit. So that helped, but like, so I had 2 student loans. I mean, one's paid off now, but 2 student loans. They were both over like 15 grand to put it in context, I think. Last summer I was having a lot of car issues. I mean, I probably dumped like 4 to 6 grand into my car last year. And then, oh wait, no, that's way too much money. Like, I don't know, probably like 1 to 2 grand in my car last year. And then, my credit cards, like, I mean, I almost don't want to share this. I'll just put it this way. Credit card debt is north of 10 grand. So, like, I really dug myself into a sweet financial hole. And so that is kind of where I'm at with my finances now. I am, like, my financial situation is actually also, this is why, like, even though it sucks in a way and it's challenging and it has its ups and downs, like, I mean, a lot of ups and downs. When people tell me they're worried about money, I totally understand. No matter what level of they're worried about money they're at. Like, I had a friend who owned a business that was doing very well, and he was in a good financial position, and even still, he had a hard time being, like, appreciative for where he was at financially. It's like, that's a mindset, you know, like, no matter if your situation is good or bad, if you can't appreciate where you're at, that's more of like a mindset. And that mindset can be blocked by emotional baggage sometimes. You know, like I said, I was stuck in the rat race myself. But I mean, the rat race is thinking that we are separate from the source of what makes the money in the first place. And that is us, in every way. I mean, you are the person making your money, no matter where your job is at or what you're doing. So anyway, that's my money story and how that ties into the way I'm eating. So in the fall-ish or so, I started, when I went back to the job, I was doing a lot of research on just, you know, how to down-regulate my nervous system, because from a scientific lens, combining science and spirituality for a moment, I gotta do something with this. I don't know why. I do not appreciate this stove. There we go. Okay, now I appreciate the stove. Very conditional love for my stove over here. So where was I? Oh yeah, so a lot of the research I was doing to help my clients at the time last year, and it even helped me, was understanding the relationship between our light exposure, how light affects our hormones, specifically like cortisol and whatnot, and how that essentially trains our brain to be in a sympathetic or parasympathetic state, meaning feeling safety. So like if you're doing the inner work and you're working internally to heal old traumas or emotions or anything like that. This will make more sense, but you have to cultivate a level of safety within yourself in order to heal those parts of yourself. So to kind of tie this into my money story, the reason I started doing so many reckless actions is because like I had a pattern of acting recklessly from a state of fear and that things won't be okay. Like there's a level of I don't trust the universe to guide me, so that when it does guide me, I don't listen to it. And in a lot of ways, we're taught this way as children. You know, like we're taught to get our acceptance, get our love, get our appreciation from the outside world instead of looking inward for it all and finding it within ourselves. So all of the research I was doing was understanding more about psychologically what's happening, researching more about how light exposure influences our hormones and the connection between it all. Like if you're constantly stressed out in a chronic state of fight or flight, and that's the way you live your life, and y'all, like I'm just going to say this, I hope I don't offend anybody, but if I do, I guess I do. So many people I see in my everyday life live their life this way. They are reacting from moment to moment, and I don't mean this from a judgmental place. I lived my life that way, and every single day I'm constantly working on not living my life that way. I do not want to be reactive from moment to moment. I do not want to be a victim of my circumstances. I at times that I don't want these things. I straight up fucking refuse to be that way, and for it to consume me, because it still happens from time to time. And so learning all about the psychology, the hormonal, the chemistry of it all, really showed me what I was experiencing. You know, I started to realize that like I was reacting all the time. I didn't feel safe inward, and I started to do things in my environment, in the outside world, to cultivate that safety inward. So I started to eat breakfast, even though people tell you to skip it. It's not the most important meal of the day. Like, so there's the health and fitness world that the general public sees, right? So like if you're not in the health and fitness space, you know, you'll probably see more of the traditional information, like eat less, move more, you know, the basic exercises to the gym, bench, squat, deadlift, those things. And then there's like the deeper health and wellness space where like you have people talking about quantum health, quantum biology, circadian health, circadian rhythms, like hormone optimization, like, and that stuff is like, I am very much into it. I'm deeply fascinated by it. And that's the stuff I started to dive into. But man, can it start to fuck with your head? It's like, oh my God, I need to do, so in order to optimize my hormones, I need to regulate my sunlight exposure. But like, I work from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. In the wintertime, I barely see the sun. What the hell am I supposed to do? You know, like, that's kind of actually how I used to work, but like how to navigate all the information that's out there, because there's so much, and there's so much to understand about how to optimally live your life for what is ideal for a human being. And what's ideal for a human being does not care about the societal structure we live in today. And so what I mean by that is, again, you might work from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. and not see the sunlight, especially in the wintertime. Your biology doesn't give a shit about your job, because your biology has ideal circumstances it can live under, right? And so how do we find the harmony between this is the way society is structured, this is the way my life is, and this is what's ideal for me? How can I meet myself in the middle on the ideal health for a human and where my life is currently at? And that leads me to my next point. So in order to cultivate this inner safety for myself, I started to realize eating breakfast could be very beneficial. Because, I mean, if you look at our basic fundamental human needs for a moment, you know, I don't know what they all are off the top of my head, but like being loved and cared for is probably one of them. Food and water, shelter, like these types of things are basic fundamental human needs. Holy shit, that just clicked to me that I said that. Basic fundamental human needs of ours to eat. And for those of you who want to lose weight, if you are starving yourself to start the day, you are putting your body and your brain, your psychology, into a state of survival. And if your survival state is in a chronic state of lack, of worry, of doubt, of fear, you know, all the anxiety and shit like that, just because you want to lose weight and you were told to skip breakfast, like, again, that information isn't inherently wrong, but it's contextual. So not just because intermittent fasting has so much science behind it, and it's a very useful modality for many people, does not mean it will be that way for you. So it might be more beneficial for you to actually eat breakfast. Because when you eat the food, now you don't have to worry about the psychological component of it, where your brain and body are going to be looking for food. You feel that hunger. Because if they're constantly looking for that, and you're not adapted and used to living your life in an intermittent fasting state, so in fight or flight in that case, from the beginning of the day, you are giving your body the signal to be in fear, to be in lack, to be in survival. And now, especially if you're on this healing journey, and now you are fighting into your own biology all day because you're not even eating. I'm not saying you have to go eat. I'm not saying go eat Krispy Kreme donuts. I'm saying have a nice, well-balanced meal to start the day, so you feel satiated, and that's one less of the survival instincts that you're fighting against all day. Especially if you're trying to heal, mentally, anxiety, things like that, or you want your body to heal physically. So now to tie this all in, man, how much time am I at? Because I just went on a rant, and that was awesome, but fuck, I really don't want to make these things an hour and a half long. But this is my style, so that's what I'm doing. So yeah, when I went back to working, I really was focused on doing a lot of the deep inner work I was working on, spiritual and emotional healing and whatnot. So I was eating breakfast and dinner. But eating that way, because I will not compromise on my values, and my values are my health. So I buy the best quality food I can find. I buy local where I can. I buy seasonal where I can, and all that kind of stuff. Now, with that being said, it can be expensive. It can be expensive to eat that way. So that leads me to now. I have a very good relationship with my food. I have a very good relationship with food. I don't typically overeat. I have before. I'm not going to act like I'm perfect. I'm not going to act like I don't make mistakes or, eat one too many ice creams. I have a very good relationship with my food, with food, and so where I find myself now is just in eating intuitively. So, for example, last night I trained, I sat in the sauna, and I ate breakfast. I actually ate breakfast yesterday morning, and I was feeling a little famished, but something deeper inside of me was just nah, just wait a little bit before you eat. Normally, I get home from all that around 5 and I eat dinner. But I laid in silence for 2 hours before I felt the urge to eat. I didn't feel hungry as soon as I got home. So I was like, I'll wait. The famishness that I said I was experiencing, it wasn't overwhelming. So I just sat there and I sat in silence and felt what I was experiencing before I ate food. Because the second we eat food, it's a chemical reaction within your body. It's going to change the current state you're in. And I was in a very, I'll just put it this way, I was feeling a lot of negative energy the last few days. And as I sat there without eating, because I was listening to my hunger cues, I started to recognize how much doubt and fear I had been feeling the last few days. Sometimes I experience that as anger. Sometimes I don't. The last few days it totally has been. And so by just listening to my own internal hunger cues, I was able to heal some of the doubt and fear that I had inside of me. There was this decision that had been weighing on me about something I want to do moving forward. And I was I felt stuck. And by just listening to my hunger cues, it resolved itself. I didn't do anything differently. It wasn't planned. And so I'm doing a lot of intuitive eating. I probably fast 4 or 5 days a week and eat breakfast on the other one. So I ate breakfast yesterday because of how low I had been feeling. And I wanted to give my body like a sense of that safety, that internal safety. So I ate breakfast yesterday morning, and it all worked out so beautifully. And so I guess like the question could be is like, how do you even get to that place of intuitive eating? How do you know what to do, or how do you trust yourself? Like maybe that's the better question, is like, how do you learn to trust yourself? And you know, it's so cliche, but it's so fucking true. It really is a trial and error thing. And that's one of the things I always try to get my personal training clients to understand. When I would teach them these things, it's like there's no one size fits all. But again, to come back to the rat race and what our society talks about and what social media shows you, it's like there's a one way to do it. Like I see exercises on Instagram all the time. It's like I started doing this one exercise and my back pain went away forever. And I'm like, holy shit, are you lying out of your ass? Because one, I've made those videos before. Because they work, people want to see that. Like that there's one exercise, but there's not. I have shared so many different ways that I have tried to heal my back pain on here. And all the things I've done have worked to help me. But there's a much bigger thing happening within my body. And I don't know if I can fully comprehend the magnitude of it all. So I stopped trying. But anyway, I digress there. So it's like, it really does come down to, like, if you want to learn how to intuitively eat and trust yourself like that, you have to constantly practice trusting your intuition. So it's like, okay, ask yourself right now, what do I want to eat for dinner? If you don't have a meal made already. You know, and whatever shows up in your mind, put it against your body. So if you want to have baked potatoes and filet mignon, like just sit there for a moment and ask yourself, like, hey, like I like to feel into my body to start trusting my intuition more, but like feel into it is like, do I want to have filet mignon and baked potatoes for dinner tonight? All right, cool. I'm going to go do it. Like if you feel it, but if it's like, if it doesn't really resonate internally, then don't do it. And you'll learn the second you take the action if it was worth it or not. Because sometimes like trusting your intuition goes against your mental patterns. So intuitive eating could go against your mental patterns of what you've learned to be true. Eat less, move more. You know, I don't track a single fucking calorie, and I haven't in years. I'm not saying it doesn't have value. It totally does. And for some of the clients I've worked with, I would tell them, like, you should track calories to understand what you're eating. This is another way you can learn how to intuitively eat, is like, track all your food, and at the end of the day, how do you feel? Do you feel good? Cool. Then maybe eating that way was good. And you can start to learn what foods work well for you by tracking your food. So if you track your food for a week and on Wednesday you had bad digestive issues and you had black beans for the first time in months, then maybe the black beans are something you got to ease your way into rather than just eating a full can of them. You know what I mean? There's a lot of information out there, and learning it all can be just as overwhelming as not knowing any of it. So there really is like a fine line between it all. And so like if you want to start learning how to intuitively eat, start practicing it. It's not something you can just pick up. Listening to your intuition, listening to yourself, whether it's with your health, whether it's with healing, whether it's with wellness, whether it's with movement and fitness, it's a practice. It's a practice every single day. And that's why meditation can be so useful. And that was not going to be my next point, but that's why meditation can be so useful. Because when you meditate, you're effectively shutting down all of the sensory information that's coming to you, which can influence the way your mind is thinking and the way you're expressing emotions in that point. And you can just pay attention. You can, maybe I talked about this in the last video. I talked about this somewhere on Instagram. You can work on developing that witness consciousness. So you're witnessing yourself while you're meditating. So you lay down on the floor, maybe you put some soft music in your ears to shut off your ears from the sensory information coming outside of you. You're in a dark room, so you don't have to worry about the lights and whatnot. You're clearly not eating anything. You're all alone. And you can just start to hear all of the worry and concern and all of the chatter inside of your own brain, all the anxious chatter. It's like you lay down and meditate. It's like, oh my God, I have to do this today. I have to get the kids ready for this. I have to pay this bill tomorrow. I have to take care of the groceries. I gotta mow the lawn. I've got to weed whack the couch for some reason. And so you just start to hear all this chatter in your own brain. And then you get up and you go do it. But the point of the meditation is to actually just listen to that before you start taking action. In our society, we have cultivated this constant action taker. Like, action is a cure-all. You know, if you don't know what to do, just take action. Like, you hear it everywhere. And I'm not saying there isn't a time and place for action, because I am very much maybe not completely, but I enjoy the grinding hustle culture that's out there. Sometimes it fuels me up and sometimes it infuriates me. So there's a time and a place to take action. But if you haven't cultivated a witness consciousness within you to know when you're going down an old pattern of the past, then meditation can be a great place to begin to start to cultivate just observing yourself. Like, when I speak in these, when I talk in the videos, I probably did it 3 times already. I become fascinated by what I say because I am such an observer of myself. And sometimes the thing I said is the exact thing I needed to hear, like, yesterday. And I'm like, oh my God, it just totally clicked. Like, I did it earlier and I already forget what it was. It doesn't matter right now. It'll come back to me when it's important. And so listening to your intuition can start with meditation. It can start by just cultivating that witness consciousness by closing your eyes, being in a quiet room with maybe some soft music. If that helps ease your mind, it certainly helps mine. And just paying attention to the way your mind is chattering. And I would have clients when I would talk about this that would say, oh, I don't hear any chatter. It's like, okay, then what are you feeling? What are you experiencing in this moment? What's your body telling you? Where do you feel tightness? Right? So cultivating the witness consciousness isn't just about listening to your mind. That's a part of it, but it's also noticing what you're experiencing in your body in this moment. So it's like, if you don't know what you're feeling emotionally, maybe you're not. There are certain times where, like, especially when I don't eat, I feel almost emotionless. It's very interesting. I digress there. But notice what you're feeling emotionally, and if you're not noticing that, just like notice what you're feeling. Like, I feel a little bit of tightness in my right hip. I typically do. I actually can feel the microphone right here. It feels like muggy and a little warm inside of the room. I can feel, I'm cooking, it makes sense. I live in a basement. I can feel the cold ground because it's tile and I got no shoes on. You don't need shoes, people. What else is there, I'm feeling a little dehydrated. And even that was meditative for me because I'm just observing myself. I'm noticing my surroundings, what I'm experiencing in relation to the surroundings. And the more you can cultivate that witness consciousness, the more you can develop your intuition, and you don't have to, this is good. You don't have to micromanage your life. How many people, drop it in the comments if you're with me on this, if you're still here too, because I'm probably like 35 minutes in. And for anybody who watches this, oh my God, I appreciate y'all so much, because like, I look at my 50-minute long video, I'm like, I would not watch a 15-minute long video. But here we are. I mean, I watch my own, but that's about where I draw the line in the sand. So if you're here still and you're with me, the more you can cultivate the witness consciousness, the more you can develop the skill of listening to your intuition, because it is very much a skill. And then from there, you don't have to micromanage your life. Like, when I got started in fitness, I had to micromanage my life. I had to have specific times about when I was working out and what I was doing. I needed a routine. I needed a program. I needed to follow something. I needed to be accountable to something or somebody else. I needed to track all my nutrition so that I knew I was on track. Then I had to, when I started getting into mindset work, holy shit, I had to journal every single day. If I missed a day, everything was going to shit. Meditation, don't get me started on that. If I missed a meditation, my day was going to hell because, man, I wasn't being holy. And then what else did I do? If I didn't write down my affirmations, then I was a failure. If I didn't get my morning sunlight, then I was probably just not going to sleep the next night. Like, all of these things. I had to micromanage everything to develop these habits. It had its purpose. It had its place. If you're at that stage of your life, I am not judging you. I am actually inviting you to continue if that's where you need to be. But I didn't want to micromanage my fucking health anymore. So cultivating the witness consciousness through meditation has translated to like every other area of my life. it has allowed me to develop the skill of listening to my intuition, which means I should probably check the broccoli over here. It's a little crispy. Develop the skill of intuition, right? And now I don't have to micromanage my life. So on days I want to fast, I fast, and on days I don't want to fast, I don't fast. Some days I go for a run. Movement is less of a structured workout plan and more of a I'm going to flow with it. I take like 2 kettlebells to the park. I'm like, what can I do with these? Yesterday I was rolling around on the fucking ground with a medicine ball in my hand because it felt amazing. So, like, to develop your ability to intuitively eat, you have to start practicing listening to your body. Your body is sending you signals all the time. Like, my favorite one was, because all the female clients I worked with, was how often women tend to crave chocolate. And there's a biological reason, because when women are going through their menstrual cycle, I think if I'm not mistaken, they're depleted of magnesium, very important electrolyte, and chocolate is high in magnesium. So go figure that specifically during their menstrual cycle, but some women, it seems like it might be all the time, you crave chocolate. Fuck, I crave chocolate sometimes. And what that tells me usually is it's like, maybe I'm deficient in magnesium right now. So your body's giving you signals all the time. That's how you listen to your intuition. You listen to the signals your body's sending you. You know, if your belly's always growling because you're eating shitty foods, your body's telling you a signal. Now, you might have a mental addiction to eating fast food and shitty foods and things like that, which is a whole topic for a different day, right? And that's where you have to start to unlearn how to listen to your mental patterns and relearn how to listen to your body's intuition, guiding you to eat the right things. And that was a process in and of itself for me. I think I talked about it enough there, though. Which takes me to the last thing that I figured I'd talk about today, and that is, like, I mean, how do you even figure out an ideal diet? And I guess I more or less just explained the same thing there, because listening to your intuition and eating intuitively will lend itself to figuring out your ideal way of eating. Figure out your ideal way of eating. So that was fun. I think I'm going to wrap it up there, though, y'all. Because I did hit the 3 points, and I like the way I explained it. And we're only at 42 minutes. So that's cool. And I'm almost done meal prepping anyway. I got to clean. I changed my clock. And I just set it to I turned it off one day and then turned it back on my stove. And right now the time's off. I've been leaving the time off to kind of mess with my own brain. I think it's about noon, but that thing says 4:30. So I gotta figure that out. But anyway, I'm right on schedule. Thank y'all for tuning in. If you guys made it this far, please, I would really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe already. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like and comment on the video. Like, if you liked it, what you want to see more of, maybe things you want me to talk about more when I do my meal prep and chill episode number 3. I can talk about how to build a competitive Pokemon team. Maybe I should totally do that. I do actually. I'm gonna quick one more tangent before I wrap this up here. My plan for myself right now is to continue working my full-time job while I build MME. And once I'm doing MME full-time again, and working for myself, with like my side time now, it's all spent on building MME. When I get to that point and I'm not spending my spare time on MME, I want to start making Pokemon content. I think that'd be so much fun. I want to start now, but it's just like it would pull me in too many different directions. And if that's one thing I've learned over the last few years, it's like how to effectively manage my time, or efficiently manage my time and energy. So I'm going to wrap it up there, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, please leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know if you want me to talk about something more, or if you have any other ideas to enhance meal prep and chill. And maybe like me actually cooking. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.